Sasuke versus Pain, the Rinnegan versus the Sharingan, and if you think about it, it's kinda just like Sasuke versus evil Naruto. This topic is as old as Naruto versus Pain, and in some ways is a bit more interesting as well. Considering all the different versions of Sasuke, picking just one to fight against Pain seems wrong, so we'll have multiple rounds here, starting with Heavy Sasuke, moving to Taka Sasuke, and lastly Sasuke with his EMS. Pain is literally 6 different people, but as we do know, Tendo is stronger when alone, so for the first few rounds it will be the standard 6 paths of Pain, and the last round will be Tendo versus EMS Sasuke. Before we get started, I'd like to ask if you could leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, as I'd greatly appreciate it. To get things started with Heavy Sasuke versus Pain, I'd like to first address this statement in Databook 3, which claims that Heavy Sasuke has power exceeding that of Akatsuki members. This statement is blatantly wrong for a number of reasons. The first and most important being that this is a mistranslation. The original kanji does not say that Sasuke is stronger than the Akatsuki. A more accurate translation would be a powerful fighting ability, the power to surpass even Akatsuki. This translation makes the statement less about power and more about Sasuke's potential, and we do know that Sasuke does have the potential to surpass Akatsuki members. Beyond that, it's just the obvious stuff. Sasuke struggled pretty hard against Deidara, he obviously could not beat his brother Itachi, and I know struggling against Deidara does mean that Sasuke did surpass Deidara in power, but they were both extremely close, and unless Deidara is like top 3 in the Akatsuki or something, which he's not, Sasuke definitely does not have power that exceeds the Akatsuki. Sasuke is portrayed as higher than the likes of Kakuzu or Hidan due to Naruto's Rasen Shuriken and Naruto saying that he wants to catch up to Sasuke, but Kakuzu is arguably one of the weaker members of the Akatsuki anyway. Another comparison for Heavy Sasuke and Pain that I'd like to touch on is the Sannin, because they both have these fights against the Sannin, and while they both have similar outcomes beating both the Sannin they go up against, they have wildly different contexts that make this seem way more in Pain's favor. After taking out Deidara, Sasuke is obviously extremely beat up, and when Karin makes a snide remark at him, Sasuke claims that the only reason he was able to beat Orochimaru is because Orochimaru was sick. Now, regardless if you think Orochimaru is stronger than Jiraiya or weaker than Jiraiya, they are around the same level, and Pain defeated Jiraiya even while he was in Sage mode. That comparison definitely puts Pain on the upper end when it comes to power, but Sasuke does have things outside of that. For example, Sasuke is extremely good with Genjutsu. Sasuke has a few impressive Genjutsu feats. For one, he was able to Genjutsu Deidara on 2 separate occasions, and Deidara is someone who has trained his left eye to stand up to Mangekyo level Genjutsu. Obviously, since Sasuke is using his 3-Tomo Sharingan on Deidara and Genjutsuing him, it does mean Deidara never got it to that level of Mangekyo tier, but Deidara was training his eye to resist Genjutsu, and Sasuke just did it anyway. He also Genjutsu Sai upon meeting him, and the statement that comes from this is pretty nuts. Sai starts sweating and says he has no emotions, he feels nothing, and yet just by meeting Sasuke's eyes, he somehow fears Sasuke from the bottom of his heart that he didn't think he had. One of the more impressive things that Sasuke does with his Sharingan Genjutsu is have an equal Genjutsu battle with Itachi. When entering the Uchiha hideout, Sasuke and Itachi seem to begin fighting, but Itachi then points at his chair where he is sitting, and it was all a Genjutsu. What most people ignore about this is that immediately afterwards, Sasuke had seen through the Genjutsu and Genjutsu'd Itachi. Then Itachi Genjutsu Sasuke back, and Sasuke sees through it once again. The Zetsus watching this even say that Sasuke and Itachi are exchanging Genjutsu. Sasuke having Genjutsu on this level is pretty consistent as well. Back when Orochimaru was trying to take over his body, Orochimaru has a flashback to when Itachi had Genjutsu'd him all those years ago, and when Sasuke is Genjutsuing him, he says it's as if he's living that moment all over again, when Sasuke is using the Demon Illusion shackle stakes that Itachi had used on him back then. To make clear as well before moving forward, I'm talking about Sasuke being on the level of Itachi's 3-Tomo Genjutsu. He does not have Mangekyo tier Genjutsu at this point. There are a couple ways we could take this with the Rinnegan's resistance to Genjutsu. The only Rinnegan shown to have resistance to Genjutsu, and the strongest Genjutsu at that being the Infinite Tsukuyomi, is Sasuke's Rinnegan. However, Zetsu makes it seem like this isn't normal. Whenever Sasuke starts covering the others with his Susanoo that can repel the light from the infinite Tsukuyomi, Zetsu asks the light can't penetrate his Susanoo, his Rinnegan can deter even this jutsu. He's questioning it, and then after Sasuke lets up his Susanoo when the infinite Tsukuyomi goes away, Zetsu says so it really didn't let the light through. This to me implies that the Rinnegan being able to resist Genjutsu isn't normal, and especially at this level, which makes Sasuke's Rinnegan extra special. Not to mention, Sasuke's Rinnegan also still has its Sharingan powers. He literally uses his Mangekyo ability out of his Rinnegan, so it's not like you can compare that to a normal Rinnegan. Outside of that, there are no real connections between the Rinnegan and just outright resisting Genjutsu. We do know there's a difference when casting Genjutsu, because Madara switches his Rinnegan back to his Eternal Mangekyo whenever casting Genjutsu on the Raikage. That being said, I don't think it's all too absurd to assume that a Genjutsu would work on Pain. However, with the power difference being so big, I'm not all too sure it would matter. From Jiraiya's auditory Genjutsu, we do know that when you trap Pain inside of a Genjutsu, it does not trap all of the bodies. And since this is a visual Genjutsu, it does make sense, or at least logically follow to me, that Nagato would only see the Genjutsu through the one Pain that's being put under it. So Sasuke's got a pretty Herculean task here. He's got to deal with the animal path and its almost unlimited animal summons. He's got to deal with the predator path and its ability to absorb chakra. He shouldn't have too much problem dodging the human path, or maybe even getting rid of the Naraka path. Those paths aren't too strong, and they're definitely not as suited for combat as the other paths are. Obviously, the real heavy hitter here would be Tendo, and if Tendo happens to get off Chibaku Tensei or whatever it may be, Sasuke is obviously completely finished and there's nothing he can do about it. That being said, I'm obviously going to give this round to Pain. Even at his best, Sasuke could only hope to take down maybe 2 Pains at most. I'm going to split this Taka Sasuke section up into 2 different parts because there's 2 different versions of this Sasuke. There's the Sasuke that's actually in Taka, or was commonly known as Taka Sasuke, and then there's Sasuke at the 5 Kage Summit where he gets massively more powerful. While Sasuke does gain Amaterasu and Kagetsuchi in his fight with B, he also barely knows how to use them and just awaken them at that time. Aside from that, Taka Sasuke, or at least this Taka Sasuke, is physically weaker than Heavy Sasuke. It's stated by Jugo that Sasuke is physically affected in his fight with B, and that he hasn't completely finished healing from his fight with Itachi. Sasuke agrees with Jugo here, so it does mean that Sasuke is physically weaker than Heavy Sasuke. That being said, this fight is going to go a similar way. Maybe Sasuke could try to take out 1 or 2 Pains, but since his Amaterasu can be absorbed and he doesn't have the curse mark this time around, it's going to be significantly harder on top of him already being weaker than his previous self. So another W for Pain. Before I get started talking about Sasuke and the 5 Kage Summit, one statement that I like to address, and very much so need to address, is Zetsu saying that Sasuke is weaker than Naruto. This statement comes directly following the Pain arc and Naruto's defeat of Pain, but the important part, or why I'm bringing it up, is because Sasuke gets stronger after this statement is made. The Uchiha gets stronger from hatred. That is fairly common knowledge now. Tobirama says it, and we see Sasuke get stronger from hatred multiple times during the 5 Kage Summit. His Susanoo progresses multiple times and his power does with it. With this version of Sasuke, we're getting into the more heavy hitter and stronger versions of him. We're getting into the versions of him that actually might stand a chance against Pain. The first few feats I'd like to talk about are from Sasuke versus the Raikage. During their initial rush, Sasuke is able to get out of the way of the Raikage's attack and strike him with his Chidori straight to the chest. Not only does this do damage to the Raikage, but it shows that Sasuke is able to react to the Raikage when he's using his version 1 lightning cloak. That is really impressive because the Raikage, when using this same cloak, could keep up with KCM1 Naruto. Granted, Naruto does get much faster to the point where he's able to speed blitz the Raikage in his version 2 cloak. This is still an impressive feat for the Raikage, and I'll elaborate on it more in a little bit. When activating his Mangekyo Sharingan, Sasuke does demonstrate that he's able to completely eclipse the version 1 Raikage's speed. He reacts to his Liger Bomb and then reacts to an elbow strike and evades it so fast that the Raikage feels the need to power up into his version 2 cloak and start using Body Flicker. I want everyone to keep in mind as well, this is still the weakest version of 5 Kage Summit Sasuke. He continues to grow in both hatred and power after this. Directly after this fight, he evolves his Susanoo against Gaara, Temari, Darui, and Kankuro. After that, he fights Danzo and gains even more power, evolving his Susanoo to obtain a long-range weapon with the crossbow. And at the height of his rage, he evolves his Susanoo to his final armored stage before going completely blind. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about armored Susanoo Sasuke because he only had that for around 2 seconds before he went blind, so we'll just stick with the version of Sasuke that gained his crossbow. Circling back to KCM Naruto, before his end where he was able to go past the V2 Raikage, there are a couple of ways you can look at that situation. If Naruto used body flicker to get past the Raikage, then you can say that's the reason he got past it, not that he actually got stronger. I, however, don't think that that's too consistent, since that was a test to let the Raikage know if Naruto was ready for what was to come ahead. Nonetheless, it could be that the Raikage sees Naruto can use body flicker at this level, so he lets him go past. I'm just saying I don't personally believe that, and I think Naruto just gained a new level. With that being said, KCM should still be faster than Sage Mode. Naruto, when gaining KCM, constantly has his speed highlighted, and he chooses to enter the war using KCM instead of Sage Mode, which he demonstrated he could use on the fly. There is this statement in his third Raikage fight where he claims that Sage Mode is faster, but that is not a comparison to KCM. It seems he's comparing it to his base form, simply highlighting that Sage Mode provides him with a speed boost rather than saying it makes him faster than he is in KCM. Sasuke being at that level is not all too inconsistent, considering while he's blind he can clash with Naruto, who, while not being in Sage Mode, is much more fresh than Sasuke, who had just been constantly spamming his Susanoo, been slightly healed by Karin, and just went blind from overusage of that Susanoo. Naruto also does say after the fight that he needs the Nine Tails chakra in order to fight with Sasuke. He also thinks of blind Sasuke when saying that. An immediate reaction to this would be, well, he just clashed with blind Sasuke, which is true, but like I just highlighted, Sasuke was extremely fatigued during that fight, and Naruto knows it. While he's on the way to fight Sasuke, he's in Sage Mode, being able to sense his chakra. That's how he knows exactly where to go. He also says to Neji and the rest of them that he's aware that Sasuke was tired after all the fights he had. This would essentially mean that blind Sasuke at full power would be around the level of Sage Mode Naruto, or beneath him. Now, the statement that Naruto needs the Nine Tails chakra in order to fight Sasuke does not mean that he needs KCM 2 in order to fight Sasuke, and it doesn't even mean that he needs KCM 1 in order to fight Sasuke. We saw how Sasuke reacted to KCM 2 in the war when he had his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Naruto is likely talking about while he also needs power, he needs to conquer the Nine Tails because the Nine Tails is a giant lump of hatred. Naruto is well aware of the reincarnation cycle at this point, or at least he has a hunch about it, so that's not too far-fetched. I sort of let the topic get away from me with all this rambling, but Pain should be around Sage Mode Naruto in terms of speed. People like to forget that most of the time when Pain gets the upper hand on Naruto, Naruto is not in Sage Mode. Naruto's defeat came when he was in base form, and when he's in Sage Mode, he says that he doesn't even think Tendo can hurt him. And this is a Tendo that has his powers back at this point, and might even be a little bit stronger due to other Pains having fallen by now. But that's just saying they're similar in speed. Naruto can react to him and he can react to Naruto. With that being said, I think it's pretty obvious that I do think Sasuke is faster than Tendo, but I don't really think it helps him out too much in this fight. Given Nagato's overprotection of Yahiko's body, Tendo is definitely going to be the last Pain to go down. That's if it even gets to this point, but hear me out. Tendo will be the last person alive. If Nagato manages to bring Tendo closer to him, or if he happens to already start at this distance, he can use Chibaku Tensei on Sasuke, which Sasuke unfortunately has no answer for. While I can't directly say that Pain's Chibaku Tensei is as strong as Nagato's, which took a Biju Bomb, Rasen Shuriken, and 3 Yasuke Magatama beats from Itachi Susanoo, I can say that Sasuke Susanoo is not as strong as 6 of the Nine Tails, which shot multiple Biju Bombs at the Chibaku Tensei just like they did, and it didn't blow it up. It's also being really generous to say that Sasuke would even figure out how to just counter Chibaku Tensei on the fly. The only 2 people who are known to have done this are Itachi and Kurama, both of which are combat geniuses. And while Sasuke is definitely intelligent, he definitely grows in intelligence, and I think he's a much less capable fighter than Itachi, especially at this point in his life. So even with all the upgrades that the 5 Kage Summit seemed to provide Sasuke through his Susanoo and his Mangekyo Sharingan, I'm still going to be giving this round of pain. Things go wildly in Sasuke's favor when he gains the EMS though. Not only is he around Edo Itachi level in terms of speed, he then gets to be mastered KCM 1 level later on when doing combo attacks with Jubito. He continues to grow even stronger past then and possibly starts being on KCM 2 level, and he even actually lands a hit on Blind Sage Mode Madara. Most people like to believe that Madara let Sasuke land this hit, but there's no reason to believe that at all. Madara even compliments Sasuke after he lands the hit, saying that he has quote-unquote good moves. Madara also just spent the last 5 or so moves dodging Sasuke, so there's no real point in just letting himself get stabbed. I think landing a hit on Madara is more than enough to say Sasuke would absolutely wipe the floor with any of the Paths of Pain. Couple that with his Susanoo now having legs and being able to move around, you get a much stronger Sasuke overall than he was at the 5 Kage Summit. And I know I said I would include Tendo here at the end versus EMS Sasuke, but nothing really changes when you do this. While Tendo does have access to Jubaku Tensei, that's not really going to matter too much if Sasuke is fast enough to be landing hits on blind Madara. I highly doubt that if he does have to retreat to get too close to Nagato to launch Jubaku Tensei, that he'd even make it that far from Sasuke. And if he happened to already be that close, I don't think he'd survive long enough or be able to make the hand sign in order to launch the Jubaku Tensei. Sasuke just gets way too strong at this point in the series for Pain to be able to keep up.